I'm going to start drawing the capital letter A in the middle of my page in my sketchbook. And if you want to use a ruler to help you draw your letter, you can. So I'm going to put serifs, these footers, on the end of my capital letter. I'm going to have one side thicker than the other to give contrast and make it a bit more dramatic. And as this is really going to be a bit of a sketch, I'm not going to worry too much about the finished quality. So this is my letter A in the middle of my sketchbook page. Now I'm going to start distorting it by changing the line on some of the sides. So I'm going to move this, I think, out at an angle, and you can choose what angle you want to move it. And, so for instance, I could move it over here. Now you can add extensions to this and flourishes coming off of the end and maybe moving in a flowing way. If you make the shape of the flowing shape varied in thickness, that can create a bit more drama. And you can also put arrowheads on the end of shapes as well. So I'm going to add another flowing shape, I think, up through the form this way. Now you can also overlap shapes. If you overlap shapes and rub out the lines in between, it can make it look a bit more three-dimensional. So I'm just drawing these freehand and rubbing out the areas that I want to make it look like it's overlapping. So anything that you don't want, you can rub out. So I'm going to rub out the serif on the end of that and put a big arrow, I think, on this side here. Now at each stage you have to look at what you've drawn and decide where you want to change it. So take a minute and think of where you might want to change and add to it. Sometimes I try and visualize, imagine what I could add. Other times I just go ahead and add something and see what happens. But do take a moment at each time that you add something to help decide whether you actually want to keep it or not. So I could keep this, both of these ends, or I could rub one out, but I'm not decided yet, so I'm going to leave that one so far. I'm going to leave this one. Actually, I think I'm going to rub it out. There we are. I think I'm going to rub it out. I've changed my mind. So now we have this shape bending up, a bit like a leg kicking up at an angle. Now I wanted to see where this line goes. I might, I think I might extend it out and make it come back on itself. So I think I might overlap this so that it looks like it's overlapping this bent leg shape. There we go. Where are we going with this? I'm thinking of a piece of artwork that I've seen, which is inspiring me to create this shape. Now the question is, am I going to put a thin edge or am I going to change it and make it a bit thicker? I think I might change it and make it a bit thicker, and then maybe taper it down, get narrower, and go to a point there. I think I'm going to rub that out so it looks like it joins. It joins. Now we have a sort of puzzle shape, which is interesting. I'm not sure about the thickness of what's happening with this line getting fatter. Perhaps I need to have it blend a little bit more subtly from one shape to another. So you can see I have the A has become distorted, and it's much more unpredictable and imaginative. It makes me think about lots of different things, and don't worry about which way round it is. Sometimes you might want to change how you're working on it and move the sketchbook to the side or even upside down. Forget that it was a letter A that you started off with, because really it's just a starting point to the beginning of a completely new and original shape. Now you don't want to make it overly complicated, because this is just an idea. So now I'm going to turn to the other page. I'm going to leave that for the moment as an idea and start again. So I'm going to have the same starting point, or you can change the letter. I think I might actually change the letter B, capital letter B. It's quite an interesting shape. I'm going to use the ruler as a starting point, and I like to put the serifs in, the footer and the top part of the shape. Now I'm going to have to either draw round something round, or just freehand the curve shape on the B. There's a few more other ways of distorting the shape that I haven't used yet, which is mirror imaging. I haven't used mirror imaging. On this design I used overlapping and flowing arrows, and also a break in the leg there. So in this B, letter B, I'm going to try another technique. Now I think with this B, I'm going to change the thickness of the curved part. So this is my sort of standard capital B. Now maybe I'll just continue the curve around on this side, so it's a bit like a D shape. That makes a quite interesting possibility, and makes me think of a sort of racetrack, and I'm going to continue this up and around. So your imagination might start giving you ideas when you start drawing shapes, because I'm now just drawing a shape which is giving me an idea. Actually, I'm starting to think of medieval lettering. Have the lines link up, so you need to have it travel like a journey. So this is a bit like a map. It's sort of continuing around. I haven't put any arrows on this. I quite like the flow and rhythm of the shape. It's quite different. Now if you want to make it much more dramatic, then you can make some of the curved shapes much fatter and thinner than the others. If you're not good at drawing curves, because I go over them, then I'd probably stick to a design with just straight lines. But I've practiced with curves quite a lot, so I've got a steady hand. So you could draw around something to help you get a steady curved shape, or you just go over it. If you are going over it a number of times, try not to make the line too sketchy. Try to keep the line smooth and consistent. That's why mechanical pencil's quite good, because you can't press too heavily, but you get a nice accurate line when you're drawing, otherwise it breaks. So I think I need something over here. I'm going to continue the idea of angular design, because that might contrast with my I'm just going to do it freehand actually. Might contrast with my curved shapes. So I'm going to link that background to the letter. So really it's like a twisty 3D puzzle overlapping on top of itself. You can choose to do 2 or 3 designs and then decide which one you want to draw larger as a more finished drawing. I quite like this B shape, so in the next stage I'm going to develop one of my designs further, but I think two contrasting, 2 different designs is a really good start for this activity.